Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jerry and Bulldog Nation, welcome to the Bulldog Show. As always, we're sponsored by Deters Law, Parks Yoga, and remember to check us out on all our platforms because we're on all the platforms. Our lead story is Tyre Nichols. Tyre Nichols is the young black man down in Memphis, Tennessee that was brutally beaten, lost his life. The officers involved, the 5 officers involved, are actually black, and they have been charged with murder. And it's just an awful, awful thing that happened. You know, what I've always pointed out in these situations is that even if somebody does something wrong, like, for example, let's say it was a legitimate traffic stop, but apparently it wasn't, and let's say that he runs, that doesn't mean death penalty. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is an absolutely horrific crime. And just like the George Floyd situation, I think all of us, are we not, all of us stand in horror of what happened to Tyre Nichols. Of course, there are going to be people in this country that are going to try to use this for their own political purposes when there's no need to, because we all agree. It's that simple. And of course, these were black officers who did this to this man. It just proves content of the character, not color of the skin. And despite this happening, we know that 95% of police officers do a great job. And I stand with police officers. Nobody stands with these police officers. America's munitions are running low. Kind of scary. All the things that we're doing, sending all of our munitions to Ukraine, every place else. It's like our war. Meanwhile, the Russians and the Chinese continue to make threats. The Russian oligarchs are still buying our real estate. The Chinese are still doing their thing. God only knows what's going on because we're asleep at the wheel with President Biden. The NFL playoffs, you know what, folks? It's watching these games, and I'm going to talk more about in our lead story in local news with the Bengals, but it just goes to show you where my interest in sports continues to just drain. I can't handle it anymore, and I care less and less and less about. UK basketball game, barely watched the beginning of it, could care less. It's just the way I am with sports. Sports has just gotten so contrived, and it's just hard to put your heart and soul into something that you know is going to yank it away from you. Biden's weaknesses are scary. His weakness is scary. I mean, we're posting a video of him going, duh, 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 duh. I mean, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And then anything he does do, he's controlled by puppets or doing wrong things. And then I got an add-on story. That add-on story is this. President Trump was in New Hampshire and he was in South Carolina. He's out there campaigning, and he believes stronger than ever that he needs to save our country, and I agree. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jerry and Bulldog Nation, welcome to Bulldog TV Local News. Our top story is the Cincinnati Bengals. That game yesterday was unbelievable, was it not? Now, I made a little outline here. All right, first and foremost, was it not abundantly clear pregame, all the talking heads and everything else? They wanted Kansas City to win that game, did they not? The refs were absolutely awful. Let me give you some examples. On the last play of the game, when Mahomes ran, a clear hold, not called. But here's one that I loved, and Romo and Nance didn't even comment about it. We're back near our end zone. Burrow throws the ball. Ball's released. He's standing there. Linebacker from Kansas City goes, boom, knocks him down. Burrow stands like, where's the call? No call. But they call the Bengal player for the call out of bounds. Now, granted, Mahomes was out of bounds, and he did push him. However, they could have done a no call on that one too, couldn't they? I mean, and then the fifth, 5 downs, to give a team 5 downs. And they're saying, that they were supposed to call the play. Well, it's just ridiculous. the play. Now, I want to say some more things about this. I'm not going to criticize the Cincinnati Bengals football team, players. They are a good team and they played well. Zach Taylor did a good job. No criticism there, except the offensive line. I mean, you know, we have 3 starters injured. I thought those backups would play well. I mean, sometimes it was like a joke. Like, could you just stand in front of the guy at least? I mean, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. These are professional athletes being paid money, and as a backup, they should be able to do something, and it was just awful. Romo, I like Romo usually, but his off-the-charts commenting and too much talking relative to Mahomes is like, what the hell? Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan talk? What was that all about? And we know how the Bengals were treated relative to the Buffalo Bills. They were set up to lose to Buffalo, and they rained on the party. It's just unbelievable. Watching sports gets more and more difficult. I watched the Bengals game because it was possibly the Bengals' last game. I could care less about the Super Bowl. I can't stand the Eagles because I'm a Cowboys fan. And you know what? I don't like the Chiefs much anymore. It's just awful, is it not? I think I speak for everybody. You just feel it. And you know what? If people do not think that that there aren't some refs that gamble, you are kidding yourselves. Don't think for a minute refs aren't gambling. They can gamble themselves. They can gamble through third parties. It'd be so easy to do. And I believe they do it. Now let's get on the law and crime. Morgan Stanley has been taken to custody in connection with a bank robbery in Middletown. Stanley is charged with a second-degree felony in robbing the Lebanon Citizens National Bank. Stanley will appear in court on February 3rd. A coach at Deer Park High School has been arrested for an inappropriate relationship with a student. Coach Andrew Giesner was indicted on 5 counts of sexual battery for incidents from June through December. Geisner did enter a not guilty plea and was released on a $10,000 bond. A design has been chosen for a new pedestrian bridge that will connect downtown Cincinnati and Mount Adams. The bridge will replace the Court Street steps built over Interstate 471 Gilbert Avenue. The new structure will cost about $6 million to complete. Recent information shows that UC and its affiliates spent a record $615 million in research on 2022. According to the National Science Foundation, UC has the 51st largest research budget in the nation. In Kentucky State news, Kentucky officials announced $182 million in federal funding and going towards broadband deployment. This is federal money. It isn't Andy Beshear doing anything great. It's a joke, really. And you know what? When I'm a governor, I'll make sure you have Wi-Fi, internet, and broadband. This is ridiculous, traveling across the state of Kentucky and trying to get a phone call. It's crazy. According to numbers released by the Kentucky Secretary of State, independent voters are now the fastest growing bloc. Independent party registrations saw great growth. Republicans saw some growth. Democrats a decrease. In Ohio State news, former Ohio Republican Congressman Jim Renacci recently announced a new Save Our Schools committee. The group will help candidates raise funds for flipping key school board races. The former congressman has argued that too many local boards of education are adopting woke policies. Good for Jim. I supported him for governor against the wine. Dozens gathered outside the Ohio State House calling for justice for Tyree Nichols. Nichols was the Memphis man beaten by 5 Memphis police officers. You know what? We all stand against this. But they just can't let anything go for their political purposes, can they? Bengals lost, Bearcats lost, Cyclones lost, Kentucky lost. How you like that for sports? This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day. Coming up next, Jamie Spindley in his World News.
Hello, I hope you all had a great weekend. Today's World News. The German Chancellor has ruled out sending fighter jets to the Ukraine just days after committing to supplying tanks. Ukraine has asked allied nations to create a fighter jet alliance to bolster their capabilities. More than 50 people have been killed in 2 separate travel-related accidents in Pakistan. At least 41 people died when a bus fell into a ravine and caught fire, and at least 10 children drowned in a boating accident. The age of the children were between 7 and 14. At the bus crash site, the bodies were beyond recognition. Heavy rainfall continues to batter New Zealand's North Island, causing landslides, flash floods, and knocking out roads. Auckland's largest city remains under a state of emergency. At least 4 people have died. In sports, Novak Djokovic wins the Australian Open for the 10th time and now equals Rafael Nadal's record with 22 Grand Slam victories. See you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. Cheers.